Well, good morning, friends and family. Just want to give you all an update. Today is August the 7th, and I did have my appointment yesterday afternoon with the specialist about the pacemaker. I can't say that I'm exactly happy about what he's told me, but it is life, and as we get older, we have to face things, and we have to put our faith in our Lord that things will come out as it should be. And that doesn't necessarily mean things are always going to be the way we want them to be. What I found out is that actually the lead is still in my heart. So it didn't get pulled out. I found out it's a coil. I didn't realize it was a coil, but it's a coil. And it's my understanding that they really think there's a lot of scar tissue on that that's causing these issues. But that's not the main problem. The main problem is that my heart's just slowed down. Right now my heart rate is, he turned it off just so they could check to make sure that what the machine was saying was correct. And my heart started missing beats, and my pulse rate was anywhere from 30 to 35. It never got above 35, and he wouldn't leave it that way long. He turned it back on. So our next process is I have to have an echocardiogram. He wants to see how the heart's actually functioning, how the bottom of the heart is kind of squeezing together when it's beating. Once they determine that, they will schedule a surgery. They'll try to take out the old lead, and they're not sure that they can get it out, especially if it has a lot of scar tissue on it. So it's their intention to put back in 2 new leads. Now, one will be hooked to the pacemaker. The other will be in there just as a spare part. So if it's needed later, they can switch it over. The one thing that is a little bit concerning to me is that now my heart doesn't beat on its own. When I first got the pacemaker, after about a year, I asked the tech when he was doing my 6-month evaluation. He said, "Well, your heart's pumping most of the time on its own. It's only at probably 30% that the beats are coming from the pacemaker." Well, that changed in March, and now it's 100% of my heartbeats come from the pacemaker. So that wasn't really something that I liked hearing, but it is what it is. So, and I'll be able to live with it. And I definitely don't intend to give up gardening. I'm not going to sit on the porch in a rocking chair and wait to pass away. That would be so silly for me. For one thing, I'd just be berserk if I had to sit around all day long. So I intend to stay active as long as I can. So I'll keep you guys updated as I move forward, and I'm not sure when the surgery is going to be. These things take time. I know that I have to get an echocardiogram scheduled, which that I understand is going to be done here in Cumberland County. And once my surgeon, the heart specialist, takes a look at that, then they will schedule me, and I'll be going back to Knoxville to have the replacement surgery. And while they're in there, they did tell me that the way my heart's beating, there's no way that battery's going to last. I was told when it was put in it should last for about 3 years, and it's only been just a little over 3 years. And he told me, he says, well, with it beating the way it's having to work constantly 100% of the time, he says you'd be doing good if it lasts another year to 2. So while they're in there, they're going to go ahead and replace the battery on the pacemaker too. I just find that it's really amazing what they can do. I have had family members, a couple of generations back, that died in their early 50s, but there wasn't anything around such as pacemakers. Technology had not advanced. and I keep saying, and I really truly believe this, I think that in the next 10 years, with the advance of computers and technology, we'll see more changes in the next 10 years than we've seen in the last 50 years. Now that's just me, but that's exactly what I expect. And as I said before, I do not want anyone's sympathy. The only thing I'd ask for is prayer, because I do believe in the power of prayers. So I'm going to close off here, and I have a little video I'll attach to the end of this that I filmed a few days back, showing the progress of the garden. It's absolutely amazing. It's working us to death. We're putting up all of that produce that we can preserve. We've dried stuff, we've got stuff in the freezer, and we've done a lot of canning. And as you can see right back here behind me, we've got a lot of tomatoes to get worked up today and can those. All right, have a wonderful day and enjoy this next little clip. It's hard to believe that here we are on July the 28th, and this garden is just amazing. I picked even the yellow cherry tomatoes the other day, but they're starting to ripen, and I see more of the red, and there's a few more red turning. Those little cherry tomatoes have done amazing. The squash here has really done its due. I'm not sure, it could have some vine borers in it. Pam's little green beans have been amazing. She just keeps picking beans off of those things. Pole beans are like that. The more you pick, the more they produce. Her little strawberry planter box here is nice and damp, and I see some of her strawberries are starting to put out runners. Pull that weed out of there. That's doing well. Our heirloom tomatoes here on this fence are just amazing. And I cannot believe the size of those tomatoes. If you know anything about what the size is, well, let me just put my hand down here next to them for a comparison. Those are some whopper tomatoes. And we've got quite a few putting on here. And with the rain that we've been having, well, there's a couple of large ones down in there too. But with the rain we've been having, we should have some more. And I bet that tomato right there, when it gets ripe, will go close to a pound. We've raised some tomatoes out here before that were close to 2 pounds. I see one here that's getting ripe. And yes, we need to tie this stuff up a little better. And these are just gorgeous. I'm seeing those little dead leaves, but with all the rain, I'm surprised the whole vine isn't dead. We've just had too much rain. These are some late tomatoes that we've planted. And life happens. They've never even had any fish emulsion fertilizer put on them. Half the row is Cherokee Purple and half is Celebrity, which is an F1 hybrid. We planted these zinnias here in the garden, and as you can see that little black bee there, they certainly attract pollinators to the garden. But these little tomatoes here would have been twice this size had they been fertilized, but life just tends to happen, and I'll tell you more about that. Our little pepper plants have just been phenomenal. I want you to look down in here at the peppers. I mean, they start over here, come up, go up here, up here. I picked a bunch of these the other day, and it looks like there's more of them that need to be picked. Here is some rather late green beans. These are pole beans, of course, but this is something I've never raised before. This is the Blue Lakes pole beans. Blue Lake beans, a lot of people back when I was growing up called them field beans. They've been around for years. They don't have any strings in the beans, and that's why I like them. Pam's got some more cucumbers here. She lost the others. These are looking a little better, and I see a few cucumbers in here that are blooming with little cucumbers sitting on. And yes, I lost my mind when I planted this. I just wanted to make sure I had some zucchini. We didn't get the zucchini planted that I originally set out. It just didn't come up and do good. So I come out here and stuck 2 seeds in every hole down through here. And I'll have to say, there's one that bloomed the other day. Let me get that weed out of there. And it's already setting on a little zucchini. Our corn has been phenomenal. I'm very, very happy with it. I've been trying to keep this pumpkin vine here turned back end to the corn rather than running out. Pumpkin vines will tend to set roots anywhere they can. And you might think, well, you need to reweed that, but let's be honest. I pulled 2 ears of this corn yesterday, and this corn will be ready to pick here in just a couple of days. The ones I pulled to check the corn, the kernels were plenty big enough to eat, and all we can do is pray to the good Lord that it continues to make it, because that's some of the sweetest sweet corn I've ever grown. This corn was never weeded, and it's doing fine now. It's a little bit later than the other variety there that I just showed you on the first row. And this was our little patch that never got really worked. There are a few red Pontiac tomatoes out through there, and I picked enough corn off of this. Let's start that all over again. I picked enough okra off of these plants, just the first picking, and we actually had enough for 2 servings, which worked out quite well for me and the wife. By the end of this week, I can see stuff sitting in there. We're going to have more. And this volunteer watermelon vine, there was actually 5 that came up there and we left them. They're just covered with little melons in here. I mean, the ground has got melons everywhere. These volunteers are doing a lot better than the ones that Pam planted over here. Now, we do have quite a few little cantaloupe vines here, and I do see well, I said they were cantaloupes. Heco Pete. I'm not sure what that is. But whatever it is, there's a ton of those little fruits sitting on in there. I'm not sure what Pam picked up and put in there. These little watermelons hopefully will make. And then there's cantaloupes down in here, or melons. I'll just call them melons. Heck, I ain't gonna say it's cantaloupes after looking at those back there till I talk to Pam. You know, that one out there has a little round melon on it. I'd say it'd be safe to say that that's a little melon, but we'll just have to wait and see. Yeah, here's one that looks a little bit more like a melon. There's a couple of them in there. That one and that one there. But that's kind of what we've got in the garden right now. And as I said, I picked most everything yesterday, so there's not a lot out there to pick. But I can tell, just since I was out here yesterday, Lycopia, which is a yellow tomato with red stripes. These things were not that yellow yesterday. So